Welcome to the Weaver Sews. I'm Daryl Lancaster. I'd like to go through the steps to downloading one of my patterns once you've purchased it. I sell 12 different garment patterns on my website, and I get a lot of requests to find out what you do with it once you get that download. A link will appear in your inbox pretty much as soon as you've made the purchase. And just note that occasionally certain carriers will take any email with a link in it and put it in your spam box, kind of as a safety thing. If you don't see the link immediately appear in your inbox, look there. Once you click the link and the PDF file will then download, you have to know where it goes. I often get emails when people say, well, I clicked the link, but I don't know what happened to it. Typically, the defaults in your computer will have a folder that says downloads, and you might find it there. Look around and know what your computer does with downloads. Once you find it, then what I do is I move it to some place that makes sense to me. I have a folder with all of my pattern downloads from whatever company I purchase from, and that way I know where to find them. And as a tip, you may want to consider always making sure that that file is backed up in the cloud, that you at least have a second copy. And then another tip is whatever you purchase digitally, whether it's an ebook or a pattern like mine, you should always download it immediately so it's safe in your computer rather than wanting to come back to it a year later and not even remember who you purchased it from, or can't find the email with the link. So always, when you purchase a download of any type, immediately download it whether you're going to come and deal with it or not at that moment. Now, I'm going to talk about what happens once you get the download and bring it up on the screen. You'll need a PDF reader. Typically, those are included in your software that comes with your computer. But once you bring the pattern up in a PDF reader, you'll notice that it's all digital. The first page has a title of what it is, and it tells you do not print the pattern until you have read the following intro. This is really important. This particular pattern has a couple of different views, and those are drawn, and a picture of what the vest will look like. It has a description of the vest, which is important to read so you know what the views actually contain. And the first page also will have fit information, because everyone likes to wear their garments with a different kind of ease. I give actual dimensions for the finished garment once it's made up. My sizing comes in colors, and I will talk about that in a little bit. Each pattern piece in my patterns are printed independently from the others. In other words, it's not one giant full sheet that has everything on it. So this particular pattern contains a back and two different fronts. Most of my patterns have an A front, which has no dart, and a B front, which has a dart. Your shape will determine which one is appropriate for you. You don't have to print both fronts, just the one that's important to you. And this pattern also contains a collar. So for printing purposes, you'll want to print the vest back, and right here it explains that the back is covered by pages 5 through 12, followed by a schematic, which I'll talk about in a second. Vest A front has no darts, and that would be on pages 14 to 21 with the schematic on page 22. Vest B, the same thing. It gives the pages and the schematic and then followed by the collar. So you print only what's necessary, and that will help save ink. Now comes the actual information on how to print. Once you've decided what you're going to print, you'll need to check your printer settings. This pattern tells you to print here only page 5 first to make sure that you're getting a pattern that is scaled properly. You want to make sure that your printer or printing software settings are set to actual size, not fit to page or anything else. It must be set to actual size. Once you print page 5, there will be a 2 by 2 inch, or for my metric friends, a 5 centimeter test square that once you've printed, make sure that it measures 2 by 2 or 5 centimeters. If it doesn't, go back and check your printer settings. Okay. Now, the pattern is actually designed to fit on 8.5 by 11 standard letter size paper or A4 International. Now, my sizing is indicated by color rather than a numerical system. I've used this color system for probably 40 years in my classes. For best results, print in color if you can, but if that isn't possible or it's too costly, each color line is drawn with a varying line quality, dashes, broken lines, or a combination. If you do print in black and white, use a highlighter later to indicate your size so it's easier to follow. For demonstration purposes, I've printed the pages necessary for the vest back. That would be pages 5 to 12, and at the end of each group of pages, such as 5 to 12, is a schematic that shows how the pieces fit together. The pages are assembled numerically across, 1, 2, and alphabetically down, A, B, C, and D. And by assembling these 8 pages, you'll have a full vest back in all the sizes. Now, each page has margins that are clearly marked with a scissors icon. Those are the edges that you'll need to trim for the pattern to fit together. Trim only the margins indicated by the scissors icon. Since these 2 pages will be placed together, there's no reason to cut off any margins on this side. I like to use a rotary cutter and a straight edge ruler. I know my daughter loves the paper cutter in my office. Whatever works for you, you need to remove the margins that have the little scissor icon. Now, once I have my margins removed, then the pieces overlap perfectly. Follow the color lines of the sizes to make sure everything lines up perfectly. Once I have the pattern pages together, I'm going to take the smallest bit of tape and I'm going to just anchor the pages at the top and at the bottom. Okay, so that those little pieces of tape can then be removed later when I've finished with the pattern. They can be broken apart to reassemble the printed pages into a stack, and then I store them all in a catalog envelope with the first page on the front so I remember what the pattern is. So here I've already assembled 3 of the rows for this pattern, and I'm now going to add the last row to the top. And I'll put a couple more little pieces of tape on both sides. And now I have a full back with all of the sizes, which will allow me, when I trace off what I want to use, it'll allow me to combine sizes. And finally, The last page of the intro contains the yardage requirements necessary in order to be able to make the garment. There are a number of different yardage dimensions given. Typically, weavers will weave narrower than what you could purchase at a commercial fabric establishment. In addition to yardage requirements for each of the sizes, I will have a list of the notions or accessories and other things that you might need in order to make this garment, for example, the zipper. And when I ask for occasionally, I suggest an interfacing or some product that I actually sell in my e-shop, I will give the link for that. Finally, the directions for making this garment are not included in the pattern. They are available as a separate free PDF download from my website. A link will be in the description below. Once you download those, you'll have a very detailed step-by-step set of directions with all kinds of illustrations to assemble this garment. The reason I offer this separately is because it just adds to the size of the file if I include it, but also that allows me to update and change this as I need to. And because these are available separately free, you may want to think about just downloading the directions from my website and looking them over even before you purchase the pattern to really familiarize yourself with how this all will work. And not only that, there's some tremendously helpful information for hand weavers in how to sew hand-woven fabric into my garment patterns. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'm Daryl Lancaster for The Weaver Sews.